Don't skip. Your soulmate secretly tested your honesty, and broke down in tears when they found out? Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because sometimes the most meaningful moments in life begin so quietly that almost nobody notices them. They don't begin with dramatic announcements. They don't begin with impossible coincidences. They don't begin with loud celebrations or unforgettable headlines. Instead, they begin with an ordinary day. A simple conversation. A quiet observation. A small decision that seems completely unimportant in the moment. Yet sometimes those small moments reveal something far greater than anyone expected. And listen to this. Your soulmate had been thinking about one question for a very long time. Not a question about success. Not a question about money. Not even a question about the future. It was a much simpler question. Can honesty still exist in a world where so many people pretend to be something they're not? That question quietly followed them wherever they went. While walking through busy streets. While sitting alone with a warm cup of coffee. While watching strangers pass by without ever knowing the stories hidden behind their smiles. The question never completely disappeared. Because your heart needs this right now, because the values we treasure most are often the ones we quietly search for in others. Your soulmate couldn't stop searching. And listen to this. At first, they didn't think very much about it. Life continued moving as it always had. Morning routines. Work responsibilities. Family conversations. Ordinary evenings. Everything looked exactly the same. Yet every once in a while, something small would happen that reminded them of that question again. Someone exaggerating a story. Someone pretending to know more than they really did. Someone hiding the truth simply because it felt easier. None of those moments shocked them anymore. But each one quietly reminded them how precious honesty truly is. Because your heart needs this right now, because we often appreciate something most after noticing how rare it has become. Your soulmate appreciated honesty more every single day. And listen to this. One peaceful afternoon, they found themselves sitting in a quiet place watching people come and go. Children laughed nearby. Friends shared conversations. Couples walked hand in hand. Everything felt calm. Everything felt ordinary. As they watched, another thought gently entered their mind. Character isn't revealed during life's biggest moments. Character is revealed during the moments nobody believes matter. That thought stayed with them. It quietly settled into their heart. Because your heart needs this right now, because our smallest decisions often reveal our deepest values. Your soulmate believed that completely. And listen to this. From that day forward, they became more observant. Not because they wanted to judge anyone. Not because they wanted to criticize people. Simply because they wanted to understand. They noticed little things. Someone returning extra change that had been given by mistake. Someone admitting they didn't know an answer instead of pretending. Someone apologizing sincerely after making an error. Someone choosing integrity even though nobody else would have noticed if they hadn't. Those small moments impressed them more than grand speeches ever could. Because your heart needs this right now, because honesty is often demonstrated quietly rather than loudly. Your soulmate quietly admired those moments. And listen to this. One evening, while reflecting on everything they had seen, another realization gently appeared. People often believe trust is built through one extraordinary act. But perhaps trust grows differently. Perhaps it grows one truthful word at a time. One kept promise at a time. One honest decision at a time. Like a tree growing slowly from a tiny seed. Almost invisible at first. Yet becoming stronger with every passing season. That image remained in their mind. Because your heart needs this right now, because lasting trust grows gradually through consistent choices. Your soulmate smiled at that thought. And listen to this. As the days continued, they realized something else. Nobody is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone says the wrong thing sometimes. Everyone experiences moments of uncertainty. True honesty wasn't about never failing. It was about being willing to admit mistakes without hiding behind excuses. That realization changed the way they viewed people. Instead of expecting perfection, they began appreciating authenticity. Because your heart needs this right now, because sincerity creates stronger relationships than perfection ever could. Your soulmate understood that lesson deeply. And listen to this. One quiet morning began just like every other. The alarm sounded. The sun slowly rose above the horizon. The familiar routine unfolded exactly as expected. Nothing unusual seemed likely to happen. Yet throughout that day, they quietly witnessed a simple moment that stayed with them long after it ended. Nothing dramatic. Nothing anyone else would remember. Just one ordinary decision made with honesty. The kind of decision that could easily go unnoticed. But it didn't go unnoticed by them. Because your heart needs this right now, because ordinary moments often reveal extraordinary character. Your soulmate couldn't stop thinking about what they had seen. And listen to this. That evening, they walked beneath a beautiful sunset. The sky glowed with shades of gold, orange, and deep blue. The breeze felt calm. Everything around them seemed peaceful. Yet inside their heart, emotions quietly stirred. Not because they had discovered something shocking. Because they had been reminded that genuine integrity still exists. And somehow, that realization brought unexpected hope. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope often returns through simple reminders that goodness still exists in the world. Your soulmate carried that hope with them. And listen to this. Later that night, they opened a notebook. Not to write about work. Not to write about future plans. Instead, they wrote 5 simple reminders they never wanted to forget. Integrity matters even when nobody is watching. Truth builds trust slowly. Kindness and honesty belong together. Character is revealed through ordinary choices. Never underestimate small moments. They slowly read every sentence again. Each one felt true. Each one reflected the kind of person they hoped to become. Because your heart needs this right now, because the values we practice quietly become the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Your soulmate wanted to live by those values every day. And listen to this. As the room grew darker and the stars appeared outside the window, one final thought gently entered their heart. If honesty can survive in ordinary moments, then trust can still grow. If trust can still grow, then meaningful relationships still have hope. Those words stayed with them long after they turned off the light. Not because they had secretly tested anyone. Not because a hidden event had definitely happened. But because they realized something timeless. Every healthy relationship is strengthened through truthfulness, humility, patience, and open communication. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine love is built through everyday acts of honesty rather than dramatic gestures. Your soulmate closed their eyes feeling peaceful. Not because every question had been answered, but because they had remembered that integrity still matters. And that reminder quietly restored hope inside their heart. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after that ordinary day quietly came to an end, your soulmate realized something they hadn't expected. The thoughts that had followed them for weeks refused to disappear. They believed one small moment would quickly fade into memory. Instead, it stayed with them. It replayed itself while they worked. While they walked through familiar streets. While they watched another sunset quietly disappear beyond the horizon. No matter how busy life became, that same realization gently returned. And listen to this. For a long time, they believed honesty could only be measured during life's biggest decisions. Moments involving enormous sacrifices. Moments everyone would remember forever. Moments that would become stories told for years. But now they saw something completely different. Character wasn't revealed only during extraordinary circumstances. It quietly appeared during ordinary days. The moments when no applause followed. The moments when nobody was keeping score. The moments when doing the right thing felt almost invisible. Because your heart needs this right now, because the smallest choices often reveal the deepest values hidden inside a person's heart. Your soulmate couldn't stop thinking about that. And listen to this. The following morning began peacefully. Sunlight filled the room. The air felt fresh. Birds welcomed another day. Everything appeared exactly as it always had. Yet something inside them had quietly changed. Instead of rushing through another busy day, they slowed down. They noticed things they had overlooked before. A stranger returning something that wasn't theirs. A child admitting a mistake without making excuses. Someone saying, "I don't know," instead of pretending to have every answer. Simple moments. Tiny moments. Yet somehow they carried enormous meaning. Because your heart needs this right now, because honesty is often most visible in the little choices people believe nobody notices. Your soulmate noticed. And listen to this. As the afternoon passed, another realization gently entered their heart. They remembered people from different chapters of their life. Some had spoken beautifully but rarely kept their promises. Others had never said very much at all. Yet their actions quietly proved they could always be trusted. Looking back, they understood something important. Trust is rarely built through impressive words. It is built through consistency, through reliability, through everyday integrity. One choice at a time. Because your heart needs this right now, because lasting trust grows through repeated acts of sincerity rather than occasional grand gestures. Your soulmate smiled quietly. And listen to this. Later that day they found themselves sitting beside a window while gentle rain tapped softly against the glass. The sound was calming, peaceful, almost like an invitation to reflect. Watching the rain, they asked themselves a simple question. Why does honesty matter so much to me? Many answers came to mind. Respect, security, peace. But eventually everything became beautifully simple. Because honesty allows people to feel safe. Safe enough to be themselves. Safe enough to admit mistakes. Safe enough to stop pretending. That realization touched them deeply. Because your heart needs this right now, because every meaningful relationship begins with the safety created by truth. Your soulmate understood that more clearly than ever. And listen to this. As evening approached, they took a quiet walk beneath a sky slowly turning shades of orange and gold. Children played nearby. Neighbors greeted one another. Someone helped an elderly stranger cross the street. Someone patiently waited instead of rushing ahead. None of those people knew they were being observed. None of them expected recognition. Yet every small act reminded your soulmate that goodness still quietly exists in the world. That realization filled their heart with hope. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope often returns when we begin noticing everyday acts of integrity and kindness. Your soulmate carried that hope home. And listen to this. Later that evening, they opened an old notebook that had become a place for honest reflection. Instead of writing about goals, instead of writing about worries, they wrote about values. Truth creates peace. Integrity grows in silence. Kindness strengthens honesty. Trust is earned patiently. Character appears when nobody is watching. They slowly read each sentence aloud. The words felt simple. Yet they carried more meaning than they had ever realized before. Because your heart needs this right now, because the values we choose today quietly become the relationships we build tomorrow. Your soulmate wanted those values to guide every step. And listen to this. As they reflected further, another thought gently entered their heart. Nobody deserves the impossible expectation of perfection. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone experiences moments of weakness. Everyone occasionally says the wrong thing. Real honesty isn't pretending we've never failed. It's having the courage to admit when we have. To apologize sincerely. To learn. To grow. That understanding changed the way they looked at every meaningful connection. Because your heart needs this right now, because humility strengthens trust far more than pretending to be flawless ever could. Your soulmate quietly accepted that lesson. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more emotional they became. Not because something dramatic had happened. Not because a shocking secret had been uncovered. But because they realized genuine honesty still exists. People still choose integrity. People still value truth. People still care about doing what is right even when nobody notices. That realization filled their eyes with tears. Not tears of heartbreak. Tears of gratitude. Because hope had quietly returned. Because your heart needs this right now, because discovering goodness where you least expect it can restore faith in people again. Your soulmate felt that restoration. And listen to this. Before going to sleep, they stood quietly beneath the night sky. The stars stretched endlessly overhead. The world had grown silent. For several peaceful moments, they simply breathed deeply. Then one final realization gently settled into their heart. Honesty isn't something we prove once. It's something we practice every ordinary day. And every honest choice quietly builds a future filled with greater trust. Those words remained with them long after they turned away from the window. Not because they had literally created a secret test for someone. Not because one hidden event definitely happened. But because they had discovered a timeless truth. Meaningful relationships are strengthened through consistent honesty, sincere communication, humility, and everyday acts of integrity. Because your heart needs this right now, because trust isn't built through one unforgettable moment, it's built through countless ordinary choices made with honesty and kindness. Your soulmate closed their eyes with a peaceful heart. The questions that once filled their mind no longer felt so heavy. Instead, they carried quiet confidence that genuine character still exists, and that truth alone was enough to give them hope. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after days of quiet reflection, your soulmate realized that what had touched their heart wasn't one dramatic event or one unforgettable conversation. It was something much quieter. Much simpler. Much more powerful. It was the realization that honesty still has the power to change lives. Not because it makes life perfect. Not because it guarantees every relationship will last forever. But because honesty creates something every heart longs for. Trust. And listen to this. The next morning arrived with gentle sunlight pouring through the curtains. Everything outside looked ordinary. The birds sang. The streets slowly filled with people beginning another busy day. Nothing suggested this day would feel different. Yet inside their heart, everything had changed. For the first time in a long while, they weren't wondering whether honesty still existed. They had begun believing it did. That belief quietly restored something they thought they had lost. Hope. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope often returns through simple reminders that goodness still exists in ordinary people. Your soulmate carried that hope wherever they went. And listen to this. As they walked through the day, they noticed countless opportunities where people quietly chose integrity. A cashier admitting an accidental mistake before anyone noticed. A student accepting responsibility instead of making excuses. A friend honestly saying, "I was wrong." None of these moments appeared extraordinary. Most people quickly forgot them. But your soulmate didn't. Every small act reminded them that character isn't built during rare moments of greatness. It is built during ordinary decisions repeated every single day. Because your heart needs this right now, because the habits we practice quietly become the foundation of our future relationships. Your soulmate quietly admired those choices. And listen to this. Later that afternoon, they found themselves remembering their own past. Not the achievements. Not the celebrations. But the moments when honesty had been difficult. The times they admitted a mistake. The moments they apologized. The conversations they feared but chose to have anyway. Looking back, they realized those difficult conversations had strengthened their relationships far more than pretending everything was fine ever could. That realization filled them with gratitude. Because your heart needs this right now, because difficult conversations handled with honesty often become the beginning of deeper trust. Your soulmate finally understood that lesson completely. And listen to this. As the afternoon slowly turned into evening, they sat beside a quiet lake. The water reflected the golden colors of the setting sun. Gentle ripples spread across the surface with every passing breeze. Watching those ripples reminded them of something beautiful. One small action can create waves that travel much farther than we expect. One kind word. One truthful conversation. One sincere apology. One honest decision. Those simple choices continue influencing people long after the moment itself has ended. Because your heart needs this right now, because integrity creates ripples that often reach hearts we may never fully realize. Your soulmate smiled softly. And listen to this. As silence surrounded them, another realization quietly entered their heart. For years they had worried about finding people who were perfect. Now they understood they had been searching for the wrong thing. Perfect people don't exist. Honest people do. People willing to admit mistakes. People willing to learn. People willing to grow. People willing to choose truth even when it feels uncomfortable. Those were the people worth trusting. Because your heart needs this right now, because authenticity builds stronger relationships than perfection ever could. Your soulmate quietly embraced that truth. And listen to this. The evening breeze became cooler as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Streetlights slowly illuminated the paths around them. Families walked together. Friends laughed nearby. Children continued playing without worrying about tomorrow. Watching those ordinary moments reminded them that life is made beautiful through simple connections. No dramatic speeches. No impossible promises. Just people choosing kindness one day at a time. Because your heart needs this right now, because everyday acts of honesty and compassion quietly create extraordinary lives. Your soulmate appreciated that more than ever. And listen to this. Later that evening, they returned home and opened a notebook that had slowly become a record of everything life was teaching them. Instead of writing about fear, instead of writing about disappointment, they wrote about gratitude. I'm grateful that honesty still exists. I'm grateful for people who choose integrity without expecting recognition. I'm grateful that trust can still grow. I'm grateful that kindness and truth still matter. I'm grateful that ordinary people quietly make the world better every day. Reading those words made them pause. A tear slowly rolled down their cheek. Not because they felt broken. Not because they were overwhelmed by sadness. But because they realized something they hadn't expected. They had almost forgotten how beautiful genuine honesty really is. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often reveals blessings we stopped noticing. Your soulmate's heart overflowed with quiet appreciation. And listen to this. They began thinking about all the people who had influenced their life through simple integrity. The teacher who admitted not knowing every answer. The parent who apologized after making a mistake. The friend who remained truthful even when it was difficult. The stranger who returned something valuable without expecting praise. Those people had quietly shaped their understanding of trust. None of them probably realized the impact they had made. Yet years later, those memories remained vivid. Because your heart needs this right now, because people often remember honesty long after they forget the details of a conversation. Your soulmate would never forget those examples. And listen to this. As the night became quieter, they asked themselves another question. What kind of person do I want to become? The answer arrived gently. Someone whose words match their actions. Someone who chooses truth over convenience. Someone who admits mistakes instead of hiding them. Someone who creates safety through honesty. Someone who makes people feel respected rather than judged. That answer felt complete. Because your heart needs this right now, because our values become meaningful only when we choose to live them consistently. Your soulmate quietly committed themselves to that path. And listen to this. Before going to bed, they wrote one final promise across the last page of their notebook. I will never measure people by perfection. I will measure them by sincerity. I will choose honesty even when it is uncomfortable. I will remember that trust grows slowly but beautifully. And I will never underestimate the power of one truthful heart. They read those promises several times. Each sentence brought peace. Not because life had become easier, but because they finally understood what mattered most. Because your heart needs this right now, because peace often comes when our actions begin reflecting our deepest beliefs. Your soulmate felt lighter than they had in a long time. And listen to this. Standing beside the window before sleep, they looked toward the stars and quietly reflected on everything they had learned. The tears they had shed were never about disappointment. They were about relief. Relief that kindness still exists. Relief that honesty still matters. Relief that trust can still be built through simple, everyday choices. Those tears became a reminder they would carry for years. Not as sadness, but as gratitude. Because your heart needs this right now, because sometimes our deepest emotions remind us what we value most. Your soulmate treasured that lesson. And listen to this. Before closing their eyes, one final realization gently settled into their heart. Integrity isn't proven through one extraordinary act. It is revealed through thousands of ordinary choices made with consistency. And every truthful decision quietly strengthens the relationships that matter most. Those words remained with them. Not as proof that someone literally created a secret test or that a hidden event definitely happened, but as an inspirational reminder that healthy relationships grow through honesty, humility, patience, forgiveness, and everyday acts of integrity. Because your heart needs this right now, because trust isn't something we discover once, it's something we build together, one honest moment at a time. Your soulmate closed their eyes with a peaceful smile, carrying forward a renewed belief that authenticity is still one of the greatest gifts a person can offer. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after every quiet moment of reflection, after every ordinary conversation that unexpectedly carried deeper meaning, after every lesson that slowly reshaped their understanding of trust, after every memory that reminded them how valuable honesty truly is, your soulmate finally reached a realization they never expected. Not because they uncovered a hidden secret. Not because they solved every mystery. Not because life suddenly became perfect. But because they finally understood that the strongest relationships are never built through dramatic moments alone. They are built through everyday choices. And listen to this. For so long, they believed trust was something people either had or didn't have. Something fragile. Something impossible to repair once broken. But as they reflected on everything life had taught them, they discovered another truth. Trust isn't created overnight. It grows slowly. One truthful conversation. One kept promise. One sincere apology. One compassionate decision at a time. Like a tree that becomes stronger with every season. Because your heart needs this right now, because the greatest relationships are built patiently rather than suddenly. Your soulmate smiled as that truth settled into their heart. And listen to this. The following morning arrived with quiet peace. The sunlight filled the room. The world outside continued exactly as it always had. People hurried to work. Children laughed. Birds sang from nearby trees. Nothing around them appeared extraordinary. Yet everything looked different through grateful eyes. They no longer searched for perfection in people. Instead, they searched for sincerity. The courage to admit mistakes. The willingness to grow. The humility to choose truth even when it was uncomfortable. Those qualities suddenly mattered more than anything else. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine character shines brightest through humility and honesty. Your soulmate quietly understood that. And listen to this. Later that afternoon, they remembered people who had quietly changed their life. The teacher who admitted when they didn't know an answer. The friend who apologized sincerely after an argument. The family member who always kept their word. The stranger who returned something valuable without expecting recognition. None of those people were perfect. Yet every one of them had become unforgettable. Not because of extraordinary achievements. Because they could be trusted. That realization filled their heart with gratitude. Because your heart needs this right now, because trustworthy people leave lasting impressions through simple consistency. Your soulmate treasured those memories. And listen to this. As evening approached, they walked beside a quiet river. The water flowed steadily, never rushing, never stopping. It reminded them that trust works the same way. It isn't created through one giant leap. It grows through steady movement, patient consistency, faithful choices. Every honest action quietly strengthens the current until it becomes something dependable. Watching the river brought unexpected peace. Because your heart needs this right now, because steady integrity creates lasting strength. Your soulmate reflected deeply on that lesson. And listen to this. As darkness slowly covered the sky, they asked themselves one final question. What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? Not wealth. Not popularity. Not success alone. They wanted people to remember something much simpler. They always tried to be honest. They treated people with kindness. They admitted mistakes with humility. They listened before judging. They made others feel safe enough to tell the truth. Those simple hopes felt more meaningful than any achievement. Because your heart needs this right now, because the way we make people feel often becomes our greatest legacy. Your soulmate quietly embraced that purpose. And listen to this. Later that night, they opened their notebook one final time. Instead of writing about fears, they wrote about gratitude. Instead of writing about uncertainty, they wrote about hope. Instead of writing about disappointment, they wrote about lessons. Truth builds peace. Kindness protects trust. Forgiveness keeps relationships growing. Humility strengthens honesty. Every ordinary day gives us another chance to choose integrity. Reading those words filled their eyes with tears once again. Not tears of heartbreak. Not tears of regret. Tears of thankfulness. Because they realized something beautiful. The values they had been searching for still existed. Perhaps quietly. Perhaps unnoticed by many. But they were still alive. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope grows whenever we recognize goodness that still exists around us. Your soulmate felt that hope deeply. And listen to this. As midnight approached, they stood quietly beneath a sky filled with stars. Everything around them had become silent. Only the gentle breeze remained. Closing their eyes, they whispered a promise. I will never let fear become stronger than honesty. I will never expect perfection from people. I will appreciate sincerity wherever I find it. I will choose truth with compassion. And I will remember that trust grows through everyday actions. Those promises became more than words. They became a way of living. A quiet commitment they intended to carry into every relationship. Because your heart needs this right now, because lasting change begins with the promises we consistently keep to ourselves. Your soulmate carried those promises forward. And listen to this. One final realization gently settled into their heart before sleep arrived. A realization they knew they would never forget. The tears I felt were never caused by one dramatic moment. They came from realizing that honesty, kindness, and integrity still exist, and they are worth protecting. The strongest relationships are not built by secret tests or perfect people. They are built by ordinary people choosing truth, grace, forgiveness, and open communication every single day. That realization brought complete peace. Not because every question had been answered, but because they finally understood what mattered most. Trust isn't found. It is built. Love isn't proven through one grand gesture. It is strengthened through thousands of small, faithful choices. And genuine connection grows wherever honesty and compassion are allowed to live together. Because your heart needs this right now, because every meaningful relationship becomes stronger when people consistently choose integrity, patience, empathy, and sincere communication. Your soulmate closed their eyes with a peaceful heart. The journey of reflection had reached its end. Not with a dramatic revelation. Not with a hidden secret. But with a timeless truth they would carry forever. Choose honesty over convenience. Choose kindness over pride. Choose understanding over assumptions. Choose forgiveness over resentment. And never underestimate the quiet power of living with integrity, because the smallest truthful choices often become the strongest foundation for the relationships that matter most.